We're back. The Zoom Back Camera, the online film forum of the University of Notre Dame's Browning Cinema. I hope you're all doing well tonight. At the top of every show, we do have something we like to say, and I like to read it in order to make sure I get it correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. During these uncertain times that have moved us out of the physical Browning Cinema and into a virtual one, our thoughts are with those battling the virus, battling isolation, battling precarity, and battling the fear inherent to this moment. And alongside that, we want to extend our thanks and appreciation to the first responders, medical professionals, grocers, public transit workers, childcare workers, and everyone else on the front lines. Zoom Back Camera is a small thing to offer, but we do hope these conversations about movies we love will buoy your day and continue the education, fellowship, and dialogue with which we like to bracket our films in the Browning Cinema. Along with that, we do like to have people who are fellow travelers on this live stream to say hi and pepper in questions. So please do that in the chat, and I will do my best to incorporate those into the conversation. And now to our guests. Thank you very much for joining us on this Earth Day, this Earth Day, Patrick Gamez, and for curating the film Final Destination, perhaps
right, yeah.
too on point.
Yeah, right, it's timely.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am, I'm an assistant professor of philosophy at the Missouri University of Science and Technology in Rolla, Missouri. So I teach a lot of engineering ethics and teach a lot about the ethics of risk, which is, I provided a good background for thinking about Final Destination. Beyond that, just a real big horror movie fan. So I'm talking here much more in my capacity as a fan than as a scholar, but yeah.
Well, thinking if you love horror movies, Final Destination has the fantastical kind of placement, but it's finding itself at some horror movie crossroads. And it has some ancestors and it has some descendants. Real quick, I'd like to run through some related movies that will likely pop up in conversation and tell me broadly which of the two you prefer, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Final Destination or Halloween?
I mean, Halloween. Yeah, Halloween. Yeah, absolutely.
Final Destination or Halloween 2018?
Oh, Final Destination. I like 2018, but definitely Final Destination.
Final Destination or Nightmare on Elm Street 1, the original?
Yeah. Oh, Nightmare. Yeah.
Final Destination or Candyman? This is mainly coming up because of Tony Todd.
Across the, that's hard to say. I think Candyman's heavy in a way, and I definitely watch Final Destination more. I'd say I think maybe I enjoy watching Final Destination more than I enjoy watching Candyman.
I watch Candyman every Christmas.
Really? Holiday film for you?
It's on DVR at my mom's house. So it works out that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Final Destination or Scream?
Scream. I think Scream in that case. Yeah.
Final Destination or Cube?
Oh, Final Destination.
Final
Cube
Destination. Final Destination or Cube 2 Hypercube?
I don't know that I've seen Hypercube, to be honest with you. Yeah. So Final Destination.
Not to reduce it, but as a Canadian, I expected a little more.
Yeah, fair enough.
Final Destination or The Ring?
Final Destination.
Final Destination or Saw?
Final Destination.
Final Destination or The Cabin in the Woods?
Ooh, tough call. I probably Cabin in the Woods.
And lastly, Final Destination or Happy Death Day?
I feel bad saying this because it's criminally underrated, but I like Final Destination more. But more people should see Happy Death Day.
Agreed. And they all have odd entry points into this movie, and whether they're and how they're discursive is pretty interesting, which is why I now have them all out on the table for the chat about. Okay, so hopping into Final Destination, like every teenage horror movie, we start with heavy noir. lots, lots of noir music, scary toys, gothic drawings, a very ominous fan, a raptor's lamp.
So what I like, so it's very Canadian. I think it was filmed in Vancouver. But I like in this iteration, as opposed to the sequels, which do a lot more heavy foreshadowing, a lot of the sort of ominousness of these title sequences is just projection and shadows, and there's, these open questions of, is this your mind playing tricks on you, which I is a theme throughout the movie that I like to stress when I watch it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as we'll talk about, the ways you make fate manifest are through like shadows and darkness, and so it happens to play nicely with some of the more direct noir elements. We quickly meet Devon Sawa.
Teen heartthrob Devon Sawa, I think is what you meant to say. Yeah.
I mean, some things can go unsaid because it's Devon. But we meet him. We meet his parents, and it's this very cheeky, your whole life is ahead of you, a lot of wink wink stuff, which is an odd thing to have directly after like the Sam Spade opening. But then we head to a very pre 9/11 airport, and
yep.
In a film that, I mean, we'll talk about how this situates with 9/11 things generally, but I'm just curious at the outset, did you have any memorable high school field trips? Did you go out into the world as a collective?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The most memorable would be that our high school had a ski trip. So I'm from Alberta, and the Rockies are about a 3-hour drive away. And so we just all got on a bus and drove out to the mountains, and it took I think it was like a 3-day ski vacation. Yeah, so that was memorable because it's a ski vacation, and yeah, it's memorable for lots of reasons.
A ski vacation could also set up as the beginning of a Final Destination pretty
quickly.
Oh,
yeah, easily. Yeah, it's like a John Cusack teen movie turned horror.
Yeah, Better Off Dead, only.
Except, yeah, not.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So no French or Spanish or whatever classes.
Nothing international. Nothing. Just it had its own risks, but definitely no international travel until I think I was in grad school. Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, tragically. So.
And now we have they hop on the plane, and we have we don't know it's a premonition. We are just monitioning at this point. And we have what turns into a massive plane accident and what becomes a massive trope in the Final Destination films, 1 through 5, which is we have catastrophe that is avoided. Curious, your rankings: plane accident, traffic accident, roller coaster, NASCAR race, whatever.
Yeah.
And bridge collapse. Give me your worst to first.
Worst to first. Oh, okay. Worst to first is going to be actually this. The first premonition is my worst to first. My second is going to be the NASCAR, which is really unfortunate because so much potential for that one laid to waste. Then roller coaster, then bridge, Then I know third is your favorite. Roller coaster. Then bridge collapse, brilliantly done, and the highway crash I think is the pinnacle of their singular catastrophes that are foreseen. And then, as you say, like every movie kick the whole thing off. It's the pinnacle.
So what's tough is this one has the advantage of us not knowing it's a premonition. And it was wild the first time seeing it, that it was all a dream moment was a real surprise, at least when I saw it. I don't know for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, because right before his face is, our main character's his face is like right before he wakes up, his face is melting off of him is the shot, I think. Yeah, and so they were able to, I mean, as I'm sure will come up later, there's a big tonal difference between this film and others in this series, in that this one plays out as a serious accident, and the other ones are play out as setups because we know, oh, this is the sort of initiating incident of each movie. But it's heavy in this one.
And it's, I mean, this is these are still early days CGI. They handle it well, I think. You know, they don't go overboard. They stay within reason, and I think it works.
Yeah.
So the plane goes down. A bunch of people are commiserating. Note that no people of color got off that plane.
This is true. I perhaps were in their class at all. I can't remember this, but yes, it's a super. But so right before this, though, you get a hint that this is going to be a mean movie. Like, this is a mean slasher. I just recalled that as they get on before the premonition, there's a shot of a young mother with an infant baby and a disabled person. The line is like, "It has to be a fucked up god to take down this plane." That's the direct line. He's like, yes, right. It's mean from the get-go.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's cutesy referential to like the directors and the filmmakers. And, and yeah, it's messed up what they're pulling off.
Yeah.
So then everyone's huddled around Alex, who saves their life. By the way, when that plane actually explodes, I know it's coming every time in the window, but it's such a payoff. I love it.
As Carter and him are wailing on each other, and then all of a sudden the windows blow out. It's a really well done moment. And you're right. You mentioned this is pre 9/11. It's crazy it's just nuts to watch it 20 years later and say that, like, this is like our airport set beginning to a horror movie. It's wild.
These kids are also pretty. They're not bad kids, but they actively swear and fight and PDA in front of their teachers in a way that, and no one cares. It's very, it's cool. Laissez-faire, as one say, I suppose. But we then have them questioned by a super chill NTSB operative. I don't know if that's what they are. And less chill FBI agents, and we have them mourning, sobbing. It is on top of the throwaway jokes that we've had, but this film is very dark or grim, maybe grim. Like, yeah. It's dark also. It's just it's shot in a dark tone, but like, why so much crying?
This movie occupies this like bizarre, like, liminal space where it comes out. It's released about a month after Scream 3. It's released at the sort of end of the sort of first major postmodern slasher where everything is done winkingly, like meta, and it's about a year before. It comes out about a year and a half before 9/11, and then all this sort of really mean, like 2000s horror, and occupies this weird space where it's very serious, and it tries to play everything straight, which is it's really interesting choices. And I mean, part of this is because I mean, the original spec script is for an X-Files episode. This was originally written as an X-Files episode with all the characters as adults. right? This is that, and New Line Cinema was like, no, we should make some teenagers and kill them off. So definitely adult tones, adult reactions to these things happening, which seem weird when they're being done by children, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and X-Files the X-Files tone is always a heavy one. And then Mulder and Scully offer some like moonlighting banter to kind of lighten it up. But those are weary souls on X-Files, and they didn't wash that out of these teens.
No, they remain very, very weary. I mean, a lot of it's weird to watch a movie where like if there's a character arc, these movies are not about characters, but if there's a character arc, it's Alex, the main character, sort of descending into paranoia and narcissism as a sort of Cassandra figure. It's very odd to watch.
Especially when it's little old Devon Sawa, who
right.
I don't mean to shortchange him, but like I don't think he's quite reading that into the role.
Yeah, I think that's just what he was doing at the time. So I think SLC Punk came out a little while before this, and his entire role in that movie is to be a person whose acid overdose trip has never ended, and there's some of that like fried outness that lingers into this performance too.
And Idle Hands is before this, I think.
Right.
Which is another like, I have an extremely externalized locus of control. I am at the behest of others. What do I do? And I guess he's a typecast.
He's got his niche. He's got his Sawa niche. Oh, I wasn't mentioning this though about the sort of world weariness. I don't know. So you work with students, and I work with students now, and as much as I hate to admit it, I'm now a generation older than they are, and I feel like there's a world weariness to these teens that reads as odd to me, but maybe my students would be like, yeah, that's right. They should be worried like that, right? All these kids, their millennial parents are like, you got your whole life ahead of you, and they're like, yeet me into the sun, right? Like that's there's a different sort of generational relation to anxiety that kids have ahead of its time.
Right. Well, and that this movie is at a foundational point for them, whereas we were like posts like, oh, you should have your, well, no, I mean, paranoia is something that the 90s is trying to brew in various ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, X-Files itself is.
That's a very different sort of that's the sort of like internal like homegrown conspiracy paranoia, as opposed to the world right outside is attacking us, right? It's the sort of something rotten. There's something rotten here versus, insulate yourself from the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the code cracking of them, though, I think is what's interesting for me. That there is a truth out there, a design. In one, it's more mystical, and the other, it's grounded in governmental or this or that. But there's the truth is out there, I guess.
Yes.
So we see Alex, we see various states of mourning. We get a memorial that every once in a while you have some jokes, I guess. I'm gonna call him Stifler because that's what it is, even though I'm not an American Pie fan. So Stifler gets some jokes, and then Miss Luden, who is the teacher, just says directly to Alex that he scares the shit out of her, which is having a teacher come to a student and lay it out is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong. It's very weird. And so in this way, like it's again just trying to situate it relative to its predecessors in Scream most proximally. It's the opposite of a whodunit. It's the opposite of which was the sort of heart of the genre at that time, where Alex is spend most of the movie trying to convince people that I didn't, like, my foreknowledge is not a sign of guilt, right? I just got lucky. I'm not the one who did this, right? They're not searching after the killer, right? Which is unique for the time.
Mm-hmm. Very, yeah. That this is, and this is in conversation with a lot of the Kevin Williamson movies that are out there, and not only Scream, but I Know What You Did Last Summer and The Faculty, where
Urban Legend.
Urban Legend.
Yeah.
And yeah, they are heavy on the Cabot Cove mystery, because there's no clues. There's no way to know until the final unhooding or whatever.
And I think it throws it back to older films like the sort of mid '80s wave, where like the first couple of Nightmare on Elm Street films and what am I thinking of here? Child's Play, especially. All these ones where like youths are like, there's something terrible happening, and parents are like, no. Authority figures like, no, everything's fine, right? It throws back to that extra level of helplessness.
Mm-hmm. Which, if you're trying to reach a teen audience, tends to play pretty well.
Yeah.
The world's not hearing you. So Alex is doing some research. An owl, the classic signifier of death, hoots in his window. Things go flying. Something hits the fan, and he gets a clue that Todd's in trouble. And cut to, well, these are actually intermixed, but cut to Todd in the bathroom. How do you feel about Todd's death?
Oh, Todd's death. So I watch a lot of horror movies, and for the kill. And Todd's death is still something that 20 years later is hard to watch. It's one of the sort of most difficult to watch, like, death scenes in a horror movie, because it's me. The camera like lets you watch the blood. So for people who maybe haven't watched the film yet, I don't know, spoilers. Todd gets his neck, a clothesline wrapped around his neck, and it strangles him to death. And the camera lingers, sort of almost gratuitously, as his the blood vessels in his eyes pop as he's reaching away, as his fingers like mere inches from a pair of scissors that could save his life. This is a teen slasher movie, and this is just this bleak, lonely, sad, tragic accident that you're watching. If you took away a couple shots of water, like almost supernaturally gliding across the floor, you would just be watching the most tragic accident, right, that a teen could undergo. It's just vicious.
And there are broadly two sets of kills that happen in this movie. One are more elaborate, and others are done more for shock or jump. And this is obviously in the more elaborate camp. And it's a long death. And these tend to be, if you look at prolonged deaths in slashers, the body that tends to be being killed is female. It's very rare to have a male where you're lingering on this in this position. And yeah, off the bat,
so when you put it like that, that actually is really interesting. So because Jeffrey Reddick, the screenwriter, he is very inspired by the first Nightmare on Elm Street. It's sort of crucial for him writing this movie. And there's something to be said about the way Todd's death as the first death in the sequence mirrors Tina's death. I don't know if you recall so Tina's the first death in Nightmare on Elm Street, who's the best friend, seems to be, and lingers on her sort of dying horribly while, right, Tina, her boyfriend Rod, is helpless in the corner. And she's famously the one who's dragged across the ceiling in Nightmare on Elm Street. And there's a sort of like mirror there, best friend dying in this lingering, painful way. Also weird that his name is Todd with one D. The first time I watched the movie, when this comes across his hand, right, it means death. It's just the word death in German. I thought at first, rewatching it for the first, like this one, with paying close attention for the first time in a while, I was like, what is this? Is Todd's name actually spelled with just one D? Like I had to go check the credits to see like, is this just a warning that says death or no, it's his name. Not subtle.
It's also harder to get a newspaper clipping that's going to have a TODD in it.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Real quick. So, do you think that death in this film is malicious?
So, that's a great question. That's a great question. If you ask me, like what I think the writers wanted to play out, I think yes. But I like to watch it and imagine no. I think you can like satisfyingly watch it that way. I mean, it's cool that like they made a slasher movie where the villain is death, but then of course, right, it's inevitable for everyone, right? No one defeats death themselves. I like looking at this movie as just just the recognition that like literally everything can kill you, and sort of having that drive you mad, right? Alex, the main character, is driven mad by this idea that like, look, right, all that had to happen was a gust of air comes in a window and sets off this chain of events, and our lives are complex that a tiny little disturbance can, end up with these catastrophic events happening. So it's and this is, I think, just a new cultural anxiety that's reflected in Final Destination that's not reflected in other films, right? So the classic slasher films of the 80s are all about moral panic, right? Something terrible is happening, kids are impure, and that's a story that gets told right through, right, when they're explicit about the rules in Scream and in Cabin in the Woods, when they like sort of make a meta mythology about it. It's all about purity being punished and impurity being punished, and Final Destination is just this sort of anxiety. It's nothing to do with morality, it just has to do with sort of the complexity of the world we live in. Right, in the mid 80s, there was a book written called Normal Accidents about how all of our systems are doomed to fail, or like not doomed to fail, but like make failures inevitable because of how complex they are. And that's the sort of cultural anxiety that's reflected in Final Destination. Like even just with the idea of the airport, of the first accident being an air crash, right? This is the right sort of it's a horrible industrial catastrophe, but it's also the everyday industrial catastrophe. When you think, oh yeah, like, sort of technological catastrophe, you think plane crash, Challenger explosion, something like this, maybe a nuclear meltdown, but these are precisely the sorts of things we worry about. Sorry, that was right.
No, and it's smart if you're a screenwriter. Like very few people are going into the ocean and with sharks. Like a lot of people are going to be driving or going on roller coasters. It's taking something very specific and attaching second guessing to it. And still, every once in a while, I'll be on a plane and be like, "Ooh, maybe should I pull the ripcord?" Why not?
So, this movie is 20 years old as of a few weeks ago, March 2020. The first time I remember when I went to see it, because I went to see it on a date. I was 15 years old and I went to see it on a date. And 15 couldn't drive yet, so my date's sister drove us there. And at the time, I was a rebellious child, and after the movie, I wanted to go home. Or after the movie, I wanted to stop for a cigarette before I went home because I was a bad kid. So I had her drop me off, a few blocks from my house, so I could have a cigarette. And the wind went through the trees, like right after watching the movie, and I was like, no, fuck this, right? And just like went home. Nope. I vividly remember being like freaked out by the wind after watching it. It had an effect.
So we then meet Clear Rivers. Oof, that name. Clear Rivers, who is an artiste and an orphan, whatever. But here's my question. Let's say I managed to get my hands on the exact springy head sculpture, like the one from the movie of Alex from her garage. I am willing to gift it to you for life, but you have to agree to touch it uninterrupted for 3 minutes daily, or if you're traveling, stare at a picture at it for 5 minutes a day. Do you accept it on those conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I might need to like, catch my breath after a minute and a half. Can I like do a quick breath catch?
Uninterrupted.
Okay, all right. Then I can. I'd take it. I'd take it. That's a labor of love, that statue. Yeah.
Literally, I mean, it is her
Yeah.
like totem to him. So they then the relationship kicks off with some weird turns, and they break into a mausoleum, and
So Buffy, like out of nowhere, they swing into the from the roof of funeral home. They swing to it. Just this very, you're watching, and you're like, this is an incredibly Buffy the Vampire Slayer moment that they've put in, just inserted into this movie. These kids who have no crime skills are just going to break into.
And a Tom Sawyer, like, I'll break in through the roof of a funeral. But not a funeral. It's actually a, well, I guess whatever, morgue vibe. And how are you feeling about that Tony Todd, that Candyman, being entirely menacing, yet totally chill with people breaking into his funeral parlor and laying down the fact that death has a design for you all. Now you need to look out because death is coming for you.
You can't even say it.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm sneezing. So.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Tony Todd is an icon, of course, and I'm not gonna diss him, but this was I have to think that it was put in as a mad red herring, like a misdirect. Like this is their Lebowski moment. They were like, oh, this is going to be a thing. He's going to matter. He's going to either be the bad guy because we've been primed to look for the actual killer or the sort of source of these things, or he's going to be like their Loomis or Van Helsing character, or something. But nope, he knows their names. He knows what's going on with them. They're cool with that. They're like, oh yeah, maybe they've been on the news. I don't know, but he knows their names, and just explains. It's just such a bizarre moment. Of course, he goes on to play a bigger role throughout the franchise and show up from time to time to actually dole out concrete advice, but so strange.
I had forgotten that he was in the first one, and like I thought he came up in the second as the manifestation of fate or whatever. And so when he showed up, I was like, "Oy boy." And we should add on top of that was "Death is coming for you." End of quote. And you don't want to F with that Mac Daddy.
That is the ultimate Mac Daddy. I can't even say it.
Also odd because they say Todd looks like Michael Jackson, yet they had darkened his skin. I
did not understand the reference at all.
No. It didn't work. But the scene does. It's amazing. Okay, now after that, they have been emboldened. Actually, not, because Clear is now not on board with Alex. She oscillates between believing him or not believing him, or various points of being on board.
So it's the order. It's death is killing us in order. It's giving death an intention that Claire's like, all right, this is where I get off the boat, get off the train. I don't know why that's the last straw, but that's the last straw.
Yeah.
Death after, okay, but it's coming in a specific order. No, that's too much.
Yeah. She's off the boat and off the train, but someone's about to get on that bus. How about the next step?
It's one of my favorites of all time, and now it's a trope. It's become a trope. It's become a cliche. But this was the original, and you still yet to be topped. right? Just one step backwards off the street and get hit by a bus mid-sentence that you don't see coming at all. So it's a class. It's a meme now, and I remember sort of chuckling and gasping all at the same time. Because I mean, to their credit, the filmmakers they've primed you with Todd's death to be prepared for something sort of really wrenching and long to play out, right, with the deaths. And so this one, you're not prepared for suddenness. So, and then after Terry dies, is flattened by a bus, you're like, all bets are off. I have no idea what's coming next.
But then Alex cracks the code, and good use of his Netscape to pull up the image from TV. And you'll notice he uses a glitter highlighter to connect the seats.
I did not. That's a detail that has escaped me. I did not realize it was glitter.
I do very close readings of people's penmanship and work. But then, so the code's been cracked, and we're swinging the other direction with Miss Luden. Let's go ahead and run through her death and Alex's complicity, or whatever, his involvement, or etc. So what do you think of this set piece?
The first thing we should talk about is just how shady Alex is being in this scene. He's like lurking around her car, and she looks out and sees him and calls the FBI, and they're like, "What you doing?" He's like, "Just lurking." It's just incredibly shady. He's just like, yeah.
Those FBI agents are putting in the hours too.
Yeah.
Give them a day off.
And then this is Luden's death is sad, not as sad. It's not. I don't want to rank the sadness. It's sad. It's not as vicious as Todd's death, but it's still sad, and I think it comes the closest to the almost sort of commedia dell'arte pratfall deaths of some of the later installments. It's because it's a series of things going wrong that you see, and the character is like a quasi participant in them. So she is not paying attention and cracks her glass by putting cold frozen vodka or cold vodka in it after hot tea, and drips it around from place to place. All the things that we thoughtlessly do to get a comedy of errors. And
standard mistake.
Right?
Gets the best of us.
I'm always like, screw this tea. I'm getting trashed. I mean, but yeah. So, and then I mean, the first step in her death is her computer screen blows up because I can't remember if it's vodka or just condensation. No, it's vodka dripping out the cup that just goes through the top of these old, thick, PC monitors and cause them to explode. I don't know. You'd think there'd be something to prevent that, but it just blows up and hits her in the neck, and then she like bleeds all over her house. I can't remember the exact details, but maybe she knocks over a candle and starts a fire at the same time. So, right, things are getting out of hand real quick. Yeah, and wipes out, ends up like dragging causing a bunch of knives to fall on her. It really is a sort of like morbidly comic, like slapstick event, which is made sad by the fact that she's just they present her as a broken teacher who's leaving town because she's alone and she's broken and she's haunted by the guy she let take her place. It's the tone of these movies. They don't they're amazing, but they don't know what they want to be. They want to be serious and respectful, but also want to be over the top.
And it's in talking about the complexity, the thing that gets written about these movies a lot is that this is death as a Rube Goldberg machine, which is over, it's giving way more complexity that's required to a simple task.
Yeah, so that's the sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say, and in here it's either it's either a bus slamming into you or a computer monitor and a candle and a vodka and a yada yada. Like fate isn't really taking the middle stream at any point.
So I think, yeah, and that's the term that gets thrown around when people talk about the set pieces in the Final Destination series. I don't think so. I think of the Saw movies, which are sort of like dark, like the later Saw movies, which are like the darker spiritual descendants of Final Destination, as being full of these Rube Goldberg machines, maybe. But in the actual Final Destination series, outside of a couple of them, I don't see them as being needlessly complex so much as like pointing the audience at how complex and dangerous, right, our environments really already are. We are used to and have to screen out all sorts of risks to get through our days, right? And this is what we do. And Alex, as he stops being able to screen out his potential risks, sort of loses his mind. And like spoiler, like Clear, who's I think spoilers is the only survivor into the next film, is in a padded room voluntarily in Final Destination 2 because she can't screen out which risks are reasonable anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Regarding Saw, I was once on a date, and it wasn't a good one. And they said, the Saw movies really make you think. Like,
okay.
Okay, I mean, kinda.
I stand by Saw 1. I stand by Saw 1. I don't think it falls. The first Saw, I think, remains a very good movie. I don't know if it makes you think, but
there's a lot to think about. I don't think it really sets me down an existential path, though.
Well.
But we, as noted, the John Denver, the leitmotif is back. She says my mom's favorite is John Denver. That's my mom's favorite. So okay, I don't drink vodka or tea anymore.
Here's a weird. So this is the sort of thing Final Destination does to you. A peer of mine, a professor at S&T, has gained a sort of small YouTube following for. He performed a version of "I Will Survive" that was themed to the coronavirus and quarantine, and it went semi-viral. And so he's been performing songs since then. And today, right, he does a song a day. Today's song, "Rocky Mountain High."
No.
Yeah. And this is the sort of thing where I'm like, look, it was today's song. Oh my gosh, it's a terrible sign.
That's crazy. I want to like close my laptop now because the screen's gonna start on fire and hit me in the neck.
Yeah, no, that was precisely the. This something I was gonna mention. There's also I wonder if this is a callback to Tarantino in the movie. We mentioned Rocky Mountain High. I think the first time we hear it is when Todd and Devon Sawa are pooping next to each other, which is like a scene they decided to like early in the movie add, right? Like 30 seconds of the movie is Todd convincing his friend to take a poop next to him.
Yeah, and then Todd's pooping later. Todd's pooping twice in this movie.
Todd is the first to die, but manages to squeeze out. Like, I'm wondering if this is like a Vincent Vega thing. Like when he poops, something goes wrong. First poop, flight 180. Second poop, his own death. Right? There's a sort of. I mean, but there's definitely. It poops a surprisingly large amount for a small role.
Okay, so Claire and Alex meet at the beach. We get her background story. Man, Claire's acting is. But
she's case due before case due.
She's what?
She's case due before case due. A sort of flat affect.
Yeah, very flat, and it serves a certain thing. I get it, but it's also she's not giving great language. Like that's a tough monologue, so it is what it is. But we get the gang back together. We get a Stifler, we get a Carter, we get an Alex, we get a Clear, and Carter's going off the rails, deciding that he wants to put death in his own hands. which he is unable to do, despite his best intentions. And then
Carter
how
would
do
be
we?
protesting quarantine right now. He wants to
What's
be in
that?
control. Carter would be protesting quarantine right now. He wants
Yeah,
to be in
and
control. No one will
yeah,
tell him.
and just like general authentic embracing, like he would be about it. Like, let's roll those dice because I'm 18.
Yeah.
How do we then feel about the railway station and what goes down there?
Oh, so the railway station is when Carter decides he's going to park his car on
Train
the railroad.
crossing. Yeah.
On the railroad and sort of tempt out. It doesn't matter, so let's just like see if it's my time or whatnot. And tempts fate and decides, no, I'm not going to do it. But then the car won't start, and so he's stuck. And Alex races back to save him, and he pulls him from his car just as the train like destroys it. I like this scene, even though I like to read this. This is one of the very few films I like to read as not supernatural. I always lean supernatural, except this is one of the few scenes where we think, oh, okay, so this order thing is right, because Alex pulls Carter from the car, so Death now skips Carter and moves on to Billy, which is Stifler. And Stifler's death is great. It's just like for a horror movie fan, it's the classic. You get so the train has gone by. You think everything's safe. But there's a piece of metal underneath the train that I don't know, gets magnetized or maybe just pushed out or whatever, and cuts Stifler's head off at the jaw. And it's the great piece of practical effects work.
You're judged by your decapitations.
Yeah, and we've been waiting for it to happen to Sean William Scott since American Pie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I think.
And Alex's immediate reaction is not sadness or this or that, but like zeal in having his theory confirmed.
I mean, to be fair, Billy's the character that nobody liked. It's like, it's not even the most callous reaction. It's far from the most callous reaction to a character's death you'll find in a movie of this genre. He's more like a lab rat. Like, yes, this proves my theory. Like, it's noble. More in the lab rat. So I don't know. That's cold. That's cold.
So Alex then heads out to Clear's cabin in the woods, safeguards it in a general comedic scene, and then realizes that he's not the one in danger because he never changed seats. Way to really, for as much time as he spent processing this thing, whatever. And
so like, I actually get this. Like, you sometimes wake up from a dream and like it's very intense, and there's some parts of the dream that remain real in your mind. In the dream, he switched seats, and it's like, hey, I feel it. I feel like I'm gonna give them this one. Minimum suspension of disbelief. Minimum.
But it does come to him, and it's as the FBI are arriving. Would you be interested in a Guildenstern and Rosencrantz version of Final Destination from the FBI viewpoint?
That would have been the X-Files episode. That would have been like yes, absolutely, 1000%. I think it would be great, right? Like sort of getting. I mean, now I'm thinking about it with Mulder and Scully, but like just like the deadpan, the deadpan. David. Oh my God, I'm blanking completely on Mulder's name. Duchovny. Right, the deadpan Duchovny voice, just like grilling Scully about like, do you think I believe this kid? I want to believe this kid or whatever, and Scully being like, yeah, right. I'd watch that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be a big fan.
And and just like I Devin's thought was, it's not Alex's position is ludicrous, and it and his performance of it is adds a second level to the Occam's razor component. Like it would be
Oh,
hard
yeah.
to get behind this kid.
I think that's, yeah. I think that's what they're going for. Like he's clearly, this kid's clearly a killer, right? This kid's wacky.
I believe it. I believe
Yeah.
it. And yeah, and so anyway, the boy who cried wolf kind of thing continues. They chase him while Clear has a danger high voltage scene. I do like her house has way too much stuff in it. She needs to declutter.
I disagree. It's Huga. It's Huga. I like that.
I like Alex doing the late Geichigumi thing, getting away on the canoe. And that is a very X-Files scene where there's the flashlights and he's away from them. One note, and then I want to know your questions on the live wire components. Drowning in shallow water is a horrible, horrible fear I have. And seeing it on screen is terrifying.
So I forgot, like I've seen this movie, or at least, been around this movie playing probably dozens of times, but I have just I don't know, I completely blanked on the chase through the forest when the tree falls on him and he's there and I fully agree with that fear. I recall, like every cool, 10-year-old, I was really into medieval knights at 10 years old. And until I learned that in a full suit of armor, if they fell on the battlefield in an inch and a half of water face down, they would drown. And I was like, no longer, this is a moment for me where it's like, nope, knight's not cool anymore. Don't want to be that. I vividly remember that moment from my childhood. Yeah, so I can relate to that fear.
And then, okay, Clear, the final showdown, or whatever, the big final reckoning with fate. How are you feeling about the electricity, the car, the this, that, the other thing?
So I like I said before. So first of all, I like that they use the dog they put the dog in danger. That raises the stakes for me immediately. And Final Destination is a franchise that I think is mean enough to do it. Like as far as killing kids goes, which is a sort of if your horror movie franchise, not just any franchise, should Minions shouldn't be killing off kids, but horror movies killing off kids is a sort of a measure of meanness, and Final Destination does horribly all the time. But it doesn't quite get to dogs, but you're not sure if it will get there. So seeing the dog in danger makes one be like, okay, this is serious business. Please get away, dog. I'm worried about you. I'm all, my stake. I'm invested in the stakes of this. I like it because it's the most sort of chaotic of the. A lot of stuff's going on in terms of how complicated, right, the placement of the electricity in the water is and whatnot. But it's kind of chaotic, which is rare for these films. You don't get a lot of chaos. Everything especially after the first film, is clockwork, right? It's a mechanistic, deterministic universe. So I like this. It's chaotic. Yeah, and I don't think this is the original ending. So we can talk about that later. So I think in the first cut, Alex dies here, saving her, and she's pregnant too. I think is to imply that they might have had sex, which is I'm so glad that sub story is cut from this movie. That would, but yeah, it's a fine sort of climax. It's tense.
You like that Alex makes it?
I like that Alex makes it. Yeah. I mean, so I again misremembered. I thought he died later than this. So he survives this climax, and then they reshot the ending completely. And I thought, in my memory, I thought he died then. But that's Carter who dies at the very end, because test audiences were like, the jerk jock bully needs to get his, and so he dies. Yeah.
So thoughts on the ending in Paris?
I Bold move to go back. I mean, that they were able to get on a plane 6 months later is, I think, the real crowning achievement. Like, it's the thing that requires the most suspension of disbelief in the whole movie, that they're just fine to get on a plane after actually been traumatized. Like, it's been traumatized over and over and over by death, and the movie leans into it being traumatic for him. It's not like he's not like the protagonist of most horror films. You're like, I'm emotionally fine, but you know, they lean into the trauma. But he gets back on the plane. I like the ending because it solidifies the basic idea of Final Destination, which is that there's no escape. Right. This is what happened. You know, every movie you have about 2 minutes of relief at the end of the last big set piece, but you know that the end of the movie is going to show you how futile these attempts to outwit death actually are. And I like that. That's why one of the reasons why I love Nightmare on Elm Street and so much, because they really made a thing about like anyone who survived from a previous movie is killed off in the first. They show up, but are killed off in the first 5 minutes of the next film.
And it's what's interesting so there needs to be an unsettling to the order of events at the end of horror films generally. So you are left with something open-ended or something that leaves the wound from like scabbing immediately, right? This is why Halloween ends the way it does. It's why Carrie ends the way it does. And in this instance, you're not able to be like, oh, the wind's still flying. The only way it's able to make manifest is to have death's design continue. And so someone's got to die now as opposed to later to show that the monster is still active.
Yeah, and I like the trope. I mean, there's almost a sense in which, right, Final Destination reverses those tropes, right? So in your classic monster movie, even your classic slasher movie, right, the killer or the monster is sort of like an abomination. It's impure. It's sort of like against the order of things. Whereas, right, in Final Destination, it's always your main character who is the abomination, who is the thing that is out of order, who sees, right, you get a glimpse of the future, which is just like the natural order of death, just death's design. We're all going to die. And the whole rest of the movie is literally just like the natural order being like, no, everybody get back in shape. So it's a reversal of the regular, like, of who's the monster in a regular, or not regular, but in your traditional horror movie, certainly in your traditional slasher movie.
Mm-hmm. And aligning the kids as being abject is interesting because they are not abject. They aren't. They're
good kids.
Claire's not pregnant. I mean, not to be a problem if she is, but I'm saying like they're not having sex. They're not. Well, they're boozing in France, but it's legal. They are not actively lashing out. In fact, they're doing the opposite. They are trying to code break. They are trying to enter into the idealized adult world of death and generally structure, and yet that's what makes them abject.
Yeah, but so I mean, and the everyday world, the abject world, or the world of structure is the world where you're not anxious and you don't try to read the signs, right? Like, you have to just live with the uncertainty of when death is coming. It's the kids who are sort of like recognizing, oh, right, maybe it's part of growing up is recognizing that one day you're going to die. It's inescapable, but they're freaking about that, and that's the sort of thing that needs to be overcome for them to enter the adult world. Right? This is what, so yeah, earlier I mentioned like it's a change from the moral panic to worries about risk, right, or about it's the insurance salesman's worldview, right? That is what causes anxiety. It's not the pastor's anxieties. It's the actuarial's anxieties that are sort of animating this animating this film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the way that paranoia is justified and insufficient, right? You can be paranoid, and in fact, it's healthy that you are, but it's not going to save you. And
yeah, no, yeah, nothing's going to save them. And yeah, I mean, because what's the craziest? Like Alex at his craziest when he's in Claire's father's cabin. You know, he's just prevented a closet door from opening, and starts ranting like, "I beat you" at death. He starts yelling at like, "I beat you," monologuing at it, and that's just like nuts. Like that's you know.
Yeah, it's him at his most sane. He is insulating himself. He is doing everything he's supposed to be doing in order for his life to continue.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is, and I think it is, if there is like, okay, what's this messaging out to teens? Like, what's it supposed to tell you? If we think of the 1980 slasher films, well, I mean, this has been written about in various different ways, but generally, the most often one is that, okay, these have very conservative ideals, and they are telling you that you should avoid the dirty stuff. Yeah, and you'll be okay. So what's the takeaway for high school students watching this, do you think?
You know, reasonably embrace risk. It's your like, it's a horror movie. It's still conservative. It's still going to be like have a sort of it's still going to have a sort of conservative message to it because it has to, because it's about maintaining order. But rather than maintaining a moral order, it's like be a sensible entrepreneur. You have to like reasonably embrace risk, right? You can't let it paralyze you. Yeah, or maybe something like that.
And I do think there is something. So they are. So I graduated from high school in the year 2000. This is roughly their time period. I think they might be seniors, whatever. So we're fellow travelers. And I do think there was something in the water with my generation as helicopter parenting was coming around more. And this idea that you have to still be risky while not being as risky as past generations is something that required a lot of reckoning when you only had so many kids. You had one or two in the nest, and if you lose one, then there's no progeny. So there was general less risk taking that has been, identified more and more.
Or so maybe something like that, like, yeah, but so I feel like, so, I'm class of 2002, we're close. I had the cargo pants and terrible bowling shirt that Devon Sawa has, in this film, it came out in 2000, but it clearly came out in 1990-10. But is a way of we could put it like that. But yeah, so I feel like, we were told like, yeah, you work for it, you'll be fine. You work, you'll get it, and this is why, the recession of 2007, 2008 was such a big shock, because we were like, no, we're not okay. But this film represents the sort of worldview one would have to say, like, look, if I don't go volunteer this Saturday, that's one thing like that's not going to be on my resume that prevents me from getting into the colleges that I need to get into to get a job. Like the sort of like that's what students now have to look at life that way. Like tiny things that they do or don't do now might lead to catastrophe, right, later on, in a way that maybe might have been true for us, but didn't feel that way.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that people are, it's also, I would say, this is when the code of success is starting to be cracked too. That, this is the design for society. It's not just you are inherently intelligent, you're going to rise to the top, or you're athletic, you'll do this. It's, oh, we can control the design, and this is why you need to take Kaplan and understand the game and stay within the game and maximize yourself within it. And that is, I feel like I got out right as those were mandated. Like those were paths I didn't have to take, but immediately after me, it feels like everyone was doing that for the ACTs, their SATs, their LSATs. And I think the awareness of the design and the is filtering into this in a way that's probably latently, but speaking to high school students.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like, particularly in the way that, like, look, right, you got to make sure you do everything right, but even then, small things that are out of your control can throw everything off, right? That was not, I mean, I'm very lucky that I never felt that way growing up, but I feel like nowadays a lot of kids do, right? If they're even able to take the longer term view at all. Yeah. We're talking about some real bummer shit. From grim movies to like real bummers. Conversation is good, guys. Watch it. It's fun as like this conversation is focusing on like the ways in which it's grim and weird, but it's definitely fun too.
I will say this: I enjoyed watching it. I had not seen it for a while. I had forgotten how literally dark it is. It is visually dark, and how grim it is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was more. I had in my mind it was more playful.
Because you've seen the later ones.
Ludic than it might be, but
yeah.
But and again, this is something that we mentioned potentially, I think, previously, but the fact that the Final Destinations stack on top of one another because the design does not change, I think I trace some of the things from future films back onto this one that may not be there, like Sunshine.
It's the first, right. Some of them are very bright and well lit, and but no, it's one of these like things where a lot of stuff that's left ambiguous in the first film, gets made determinate with oftentimes diminishing returns throughout the later parts of the franchise until like really the rules are absolutely explicit. By the time you get to Final Destination 5, it's like, all right, here's like the recipe for how to beat death, right? Have a new life and save somebody. Yeah, so it gets more arcane for sure. Yeah.
But that's spoiler. That's what makes the so fascinating.
Yeah. Oh yes, right, yeah, right. I don't actually, don't want to say anything about that in case y'all should go just watch the whole franchise.
Yeah.
5 films, 8 hours.
Okay, as a last kind of note on Final Destination, because this was originally written as an X-Files script and for a different age, how about, would you be down for recasting Final Destination in this version?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm thinking about adults and also trying to think of I don't know if I watch enough teen content anymore to know who would be heartthrobs, but
that's my problem.
I'm trying to think of it. I'm gonna try and do both. Let's see if I can. So Alex. So Alex, I think there are 2 choices, right, for adult Alex, right? One is your obvious choice. Your obvious choice is a Nicolas Cage, right? The obvious case is a Nicolas Cage sort of like descending into madness, right? So we know he can do it. It's tried and tested. But I think maybe what's his name? William Jackson Harper is the guy who plays Chidi Adegoniye.
Yeah.
Seeing him slowly lose it, I think would be fantastic. Chidi's great at losing it. He was in the last Ari Aster movie. So he's got experience going dark. So I think he could be a fun Alex.
I gender bended my Alex. I went with Natalie Portman.
Oh.
Black Swanning it.
If I was gonna recast it for the youth, I would say Millie Bobby Brown as
Oh, right.
Alex. Yeah, I think so.
Who is your Clear Rivers?
This is hard to say because, like, again, actresses, I can't. I mean, so on the one hand, I'm torn between like a sort of Aubrey Plaza sort of detachedness, right? But also like maybe like a Cara Delevingne, like I'm a sculptor, right? And as an aside, if it's Cara Delevingne, then we have a flashback of her dad, played by Eugene Levy.
Nice. I went with Aquafina on this.
Oh, okay, all right.
Which it made sense for me leaning into the artist, the more tortured side of things.
Absolutely, yeah. I think tortured. Yeah, okay.
Who's your Carter?
That's a very good question. I'm gonna go all Peaky Blinders here. If I'm casting an adult, I'm gonna say I want to see Cillian Murphy because Kerr Smith has got them cheekbones, and it's true, right? And if I'm casting it young again, I'm gonna go Joe Cole because he always looks like he wants to beat somebody up. So yeah.
I don't know why. I went with Vin Diesel. This one I was
No, he's a teddy bear. Vin Diesel's a big teddy bear, man.
Not in this one. Okay, who's your Miss Luden?
Anne Hathaway. Absolutely, Anne Hathaway. She's gonna give it gravitas because her death is sad and alone, and I think she's gonna give it some gravitas, and yeah, for sure.
Laura Dern.
Oh yeah, yes, okay, yeah.
She's really like living out that Big Little Lies thing. I think it's spiral. Okay, the French teacher who stays.
I want to say Brian Posehn.
Oh.
I think that'd be funny. Comic relief.
Robin Bartlett. She plays the French teacher in If Looks Could Kill.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm sorry. I'm gonna Google this afterwards.
She's great. Okay, who are your FBI agents?
Key and Peele.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think that would work really well.
I have Laurie Metcalf and Viola Davis.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
I don't know. Who's your Todd?
Who'd you have for Alex again?
Natalie Portman.
So Viola Davis really holding Natalie Portman's feet to the fire. Good. All right. That works. Okay. Yeah.
And Laurie Metcalf going back to the Aunt Jackie kind of cop role. Who's your Todd?
Oh, that's so this might be younger, but I want to say either Rory Culkin or any other Culkins really, but Rory Culkin would be great, or Tom Holland. I mean they're young, but they're sort of like innocent boy-faced, and there'd be a punch of the gut to watch either of them like. Can you imagine seeing Spider-Man go like that?
I'm vibing with you. I got Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a bummer.
It's the same.
I don't even I don't care for most of the characters Eddie Redmayne plays, but like yes, that would be just visually horrific. Yes, you're vibing.
Who's your Billy? Go ahead.
Stifler, yeah. Who's your Stifler? I want to hear your Stifler first.
Sam Richardson. Do you know him? He plays Richard on Veep.
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Good. That's really good. I had Josh Gad. I have Josh Gad for mine. Because
so we both went to like the portly kind of type. It should be more comical.
I don't know if maybe I could be wrong, but I get the feeling that like your Stifler bro. I mean, Billy's character is not Stifler, but I get the feeling that like some of these teen archetypes are now dated, are not actually as archetypical as we thought. Josh Gad could play like a sort of like nebbishy fellow without being as annoying or problematic as 1999 Sean William Scott.
Right.
Yeah.
And then lastly, who's your Bloodworth?
Tony Todd.
I have Tony Todd.
Yeah, no, you don't recast. You don't recast. I actually just learned today, maybe it's today, that he is going to. There was some question, so people might not know this. Jordan Peele is coming up with a sequel to Candyman with Yahya Abdul-Mateen, which is going to be awesome. But Tony Todd is still. I didn't realize this, that he's still going to be in it playing Candyman. He's not been recast. That was sort of up in the air. And yeah, don't recast him.
So smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Candyman is a movie I can talk about forever. And I am very excited for movies to happen again, because that will be a wonderful day in my life. So
yeah. Here's hoping it comes out soon. Actually, I don't know, what was the release date for that? It's on the near horizon, right?
June.
Yeah, so near horizon.
It will probably move, I mean, depending on how things break, but in time, it's in the can, so we're going to see it at some point.
Yeah, VOD as soon as possible. Oh.
Yeah, I also want to watch it with friends, so yeah.
Well, you can program that. Anything you want to watch with friends, you can program.
It'll happen. I think that will be a very good twofer, like
double feature.
Remake Candyman.
So
originally.
more connections. So back when this was so I don't know if you need to wrap up, but back when this was an X-Files episode, it was really dark. Like, the first draft of it wasn't about having Death come up with these elaborate scenarios that played out, but rather Death, having missed its shot to kill them on the plane, was going to psychologically torture them into killing themselves. So one of the characters hangs themselves, one of the characters sets themselves on fire. Like, the first draft of this of Final Destination is brutal. And I think, and one of the first directors that they went to for it was Clive Barker, who was offered this because it fits with the sort of grimness of some of his material, and he turned it down, unfortunately. But one has to, can't help but wonder what a sort of Clive Barker version of, like, halfway between Final Destination and Nightmare on Elm Street would have ended up like.
Yeah. That's a fun thought experiment, because I don't think it would have gone all that differently from where we were. I think it just would have lost I could even see it being, I think the comedy drops out, like all the winks, except for a handful of like light moments that are played internally and not for the camera. I mean, that's the other thing about this, is that the humor is meta as well as the horror. And Clive Barker doesn't tend to do that. He makes it about the scene and what would be transpiring.
He makes love stories, which would be a very different, it's like messed up love stories. That's a question. So maybe this is putting you on a spot. Who would direct your recasted?
I would, because it's on the brain from last night, I'm gonna see what Bong Joon-ho's gonna do with it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. That'll be another. So I mean, Parasite is also tonally weird, but in a way that is more fitting than this one, perhaps. But I'd like to see that.
Well, and it came to mind too, because I was like, okay, I think there is a societal critique here, maybe not entirely a capitalist critique.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, who recently has done like a big, kind of societal rundown? And we talked about Ocho last night, so it's on the brain.
Yeah.
How about for you?
I would love to see what Yorgos Lanthimos would do with this. I would absolutely love. It would be Final Destination in slow motion. I mean, the killing of a sacred deer is kind of like a Final Destination scenario playing out in slow motion. So I think that'd be hilarious.
Clear's dog is not making it out of that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun. That'd be really fun.
Okay, so putting a bow on Final Destination, but before we put that on the episode, were you aware, Patrick, that Proust had a younger sister named Becky?
That Proust had a younger sister named Becky.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
Well, he did. And she developed a 5-question questionnaire to determine whether or not you love movies. Do you care to take it?
I do. I do care to take it.
Need my proper glasses. What was your first R-rated? What's that?
Go ahead. I feel like that can't be true.
These?
No, the Proust's sister came up with this questionnaire, but you go ahead.
No, Becky, like Wikipedia it afterwards, or she's probably been erased, as society has done to many.
Yeah, fair enough.
But what was your first R-rated movie? That's her first question.
You know what? I remember the rough time of my first R-rated movie, but I cannot remember if it would have been. I think it was Starship Troopers. I think it was the first one that come out. It was either that or Jackie Brown. Very close together.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not far off from this, actually.
Oh, a few years. A couple years.
Yeah.
97?
Oh, you're right. Okay. What movie would you be compelled to buy, even though you may already own a copy of it, if you found it at Picker's Paradise for $2?
You know what I would be compelled to buy would be, I think, the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I think for $2, for sure.
$2.
Alexandra Aja, yeah.
Okay. What is the best movie to watch on a second date?
Best movie to watch on a second date. I'm gonna go with The Raid.
Okay, why The Raid?
You know what? It's just like so your first movie, you want to watch something that is going to give you a lot to take in, a lot to chew on, to talk about afterwards, and then the second date, The Raid is just an adrenaline fueled thrill ride from start to finish, and you'll be leaving sort of like slightly flushed, out of breath. It's a vibe.
Yeah, it has I would say some kinship with the movie we watched for tonight. So
yes, yeah, it's just set piece after set piece with the flimsiest of plots. Yes.
Yeah, we had just come up with different ways to kick people's butt. Okay, sub question to question 4. What is your favorite pizza?
My favorite pizza.
Oh, favorite toppings on your pizza.
So this is tough, right? Because like my favorite topping on a pizza could be banana peppers, because it makes every single pizza better when it's on it. Like you couldn't have a pizza just with it, but it's the best because it makes everything superior. I'm a big fan.
Okay.
Say that.
So what is your favorite movie to watch on the couch while eating a banana pepper cum something else pizza?
Oof. Okay. Lately, I'm gonna say. I'm torn now because of this conversation that we've been having. Right? I would say something like The Raid or Green Room, but now I'm thinking Hellraiser. All this talk with Clive Barker's got me thinking about Hellraiser.
That's an appetizing movie.
It's meaty.
That's not the word I wanted. Okay, you are 10 years old. You receive from the future a screener of any movie. What movie most blows your mind?
Okay, okay. It's gonna be at 10 years old. At 10 years old, Turbo Kid. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen. For the audience out there, Turbo Kid is just a children's movie with hyperviolence. It's like an 80s children's movie with hyperviolence. And
Yeah.
Michael Ironside, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it, but I know it.
Yeah, that would be the one.
That's funny, given that we watched a movie with kids-ish with hyperviolence.
Yeah. But it's not scary, right? It's got a sort of like neon vibe. And I was actually, I was a huge scaredy cat until I was like 12 or 13. I could not handle anything remotely scary until a flip switched in middle school.
What do you think it was, not to put you on the couch?
I think it was immersion therapy. One day I was like, I was like, I want to have friends over and just watch horror movies with them and like watch like Army of Darkness and Halloween and just like, just dove in. And then after that, I was like, these are the best, and I don't ever want to watch anything ever again.
Was Halloween your first?
No, Army of Darkness, I think, was the first. I mean, that's a horror comedy, but it was the first.
And that's a good zero gravity movie to get you in.
Yeah. Halloween would have been shortly there afterwards. Prom Night, all the classics. Yeah.
Hey, well, 1 second. Let me do the calculations. Banana peppers. Hey, it turns out you love movies. And we loved having you here on Zoom Back Camera. Thank you so much, Patrick, for curating and chatting about Final Destination.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is a pleasure. You're doing yeoman's work here, and we all appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, well, everyone, have a great night, and we look to see you soon again on Zoom Back Camera. Good night.